Tales from the wild. Stories from the heart. A journey into the mind and soul of fired-up business professionals where they share their vision for the future. And hear from a different non-profit organization every month as they create awareness of their goals and their needs. Dive into a world of untamed passion as we join our host, Shireen Buerta, for this month's episode of Friends from Wild Places.
All right, welcome. Shireen here. I am your virtual boutique bookkeeper and QuickBooks advisor. Back in the day, bookkeeping was a mountain of paperwork and a sea of receipts. But today, it shouldn't be that way. At Shireen's Bookkeeping Services, we take the stress out of finances with modern solutions tailored just for you. Imagine focusing on growing your business while we handle the numbers seamlessly. Are you a business owner relying only on a CPA firm? Well, let's connect. We can elevate your financial management together. If you want to know more, please go check me out at www.shireensbookkeeping.com and allow me to keep your books clean so you don't have to. Welcome back, listeners. You are listening to Friends from Wild Places. We're so glad to have you here again with us. I'd love to introduce you to my co-host, Tanya, whom you all know very well. Tanya, how are you doing today?
Oh, doing great. We are winding up the semester at the college, busy with summer activities. And I believe where you are, Shireen, it's opposite, right? So you are in winter. Is that correct?
That
In
is
South Africa.
right. That is correct. We are in fascinating enough, the area that I'm in KwaZulu-Natal, they don't really see very cold winters, and I love winter. But it is cooler this year than usual, so I'm thoroughly enjoying that. But Tanya, why don't you just share with the listeners a little bit more about our extra content that we're making for our subscribers?
Sure. So for our regular visitors and guests, we have Friends from Wild Places where you can just subscribe, like, share, comment on our posts. And then if you would like additional bonus content, that is raw, unedited, just topics that maybe you've been shy to ask, trying to find out on your own. We'd love to explore deeper. We've shared about our past, all kinds of things, trials and tribulations. So if there's anything you want to hear more from us specifically, feel free to text us, email, connect with us, even via Friends from Wild Places. So for $5 a month, you can subscribe to the additional content. And you can always just like, comment, and follow us for free. But the juicy content is actually juicy.
Yeah, that's so right. And it's only $5 a month. And really, we enjoy what we're doing, but we don't get any money for it. So it would really be nice. We don't see it as anything else, but just support from you guys, just to help us keep on doing this. So thank you so much to those that have subscribed, and we really appreciate you. So we are super excited today to introduce our visitor this month for the next few episodes. We have Marie Gonzalez, who is a 48-year-old woman, wife to Robert for 30 years, mother to Chris and Jackie, and recently promoted to grandma to Amelia. How cute. She is a natural creator and loves to explore and create in the kitchen. She sees a recipe she likes, she tries it, tweaks it with better for you ingredients, and gives it to her family so they can approve before it becomes a regular item they sell. They are a family-owned and operated business. They run from home in Miramar, Florida, USA. The juicing concept started in the summer of 2019 after she purchased a couple of detox programs online and hated them. She felt the smoothies and juices she had been making for her kids were way better. She started researching and educating herself in the topic of using fruits and vegetables to naturally detoxify one's body. That's when Munchie Blends was born. But later that changed to the name Yes to Detox, We're so happy to have you here, Marie. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited. Thank you.
Well, this is going to be great. I'm not the healthiest person in the world, but I always like to hear about how different fruits and vegetables can help with different, illnesses and symptoms and pains in our bodies. And I just find it quite interesting. So, yeah, they do say that food can be natural medicines. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about you and your business. But before we do, Tanya and I are a little bit of true crime enthusiasts, as you all know. So we always like to start our podcast with chatting about the latest crimes that have been going on. And to be honest, I was quite disappointed when I heard about this crime because I kind of like this guy.
Mhm.
I thought he was I thought he was doing a lot of good in the world with his movies. I thought all of his movies that he directed and created, and his character always had such good messages in his movies. And if you don't know who I'm talking about Tyler Perry. His character is Medea in a lot of his movies, and I just thoroughly enjoyed the good underlying um, message that
Yeah.
a lot of his movies carry. And so when I heard about this court case, I was quite disappointed because I think in a way I put him on a little bit of a pedestal. And I thought, finally, a good director that's trying to do good in the world of, of Hollywood. But I seem to be wrong. And so, listeners, if you don't know who I'm talking about, yes, I'm talking about the case of sexual assault against Tyler Perry. US film and TV giant Tyler Perry has been sued for $260 million by an actor who has accused the mogul of sexually assaulting him while working on his TV shows. Derek Dixon has filed a lawsuit in Los Angeles accusing Perry of using his influence in the entertainment industry to create a coercive, sexually exploitative dynamic while he was acting on The Oval and Ruthless. He alleges Perry promised him a successful acting career, but then subjected him to escalating sexual harassment, assault, and battery, and professional retaliation. When he didn't reciprocate Perry's unwanted advances, well, you can guess what happened. So Perry's lawyers denied the allegations and called the lawsuit a scam to make money. I think I've heard that so often. That's a reaction that a lot of these powerful people have. The lawyer continues and says this is an individual who got close to Tyler Perry for what now appears to be nothing more than setting up a scam. His attorney, Matthew Boyd, told the BBC, but Tyler will not be shaken down, and we are confident these fabricated claims of harassment will fail. Um, Let me just mention a couple of the other cases that are similar to this case, listeners. We're talking Harvey Weinstein, we're talking Bill Cosby, we're talking R. Kelly, we're talking Sean Combs, we're talking Kevin Spacey, Roger Ailes, and even the Baldonian Lively case. These are some of the very few cases that have come up, and I think my biggest question that I wanted to chat to you ladies right now and hear your opinion on it is, what are your thoughts about these victims coming forward years later claiming sexual harassment on these powerful people? Does it seem more than usual, or do you think it's a good or a bad thing? Like, let's just chat a little bit about what you think. Should we start with you first, Marie?
Sure. Um, it's really unfortunate because I do share, excuse me, your feelings on the actor.
Mm.
Growing up, my kids, we used to stay up late, watch Medea, and there's a couple lines that we still use till today, like hallelujah. So it's an American thing, I would say. It is unfortunate because, in a position that he is, a position of power, position to lead others, to, a lot of youth, looks up to these people.
Mm.
And in the victim's case, they may decide to come forward years after because, they're ashamed, they're afraid. Sometimes they stay quiet, they don't say anything because they fear. But yes, I support the, come forward movement, say your story, take it to court, don't be afraid. If it happened, if you're, standing with the truth, there's nothing to fear. That's my opinion.
That's very true. Tanya, what about yourself?
Well, I used to be up on the research. So a few years ago, back actually like 2016, 2017, there was a lot of statistics that I was familiar with that said any survivor of sexual abuse, it's usually very common for a delayed resurface of the feelings and emotions around that. And it was very common even 15 years later. So that is it was at that time a proven statistic, and I don't believe it's changed much. I mean, maybe they have more data now to support that. So I think for reasons, especially when you're talking about, for example, positions of power and or perceived abuse, there is a delay, both time, because I think maybe some of the survivors would say like, well, who's going to believe me? This person is so powerful. This person is so well known. I'm just one person. So I think it takes a lot for that individual to actually come forward and bring a case. And then the other folks that you mentioned, Shireen, I believe, those, have just gone, truly wild as far as the amount of people that were actually sexually abused, coerced, exploited. So it's very interesting. The expression I've always heard is when there's smoke, there's fire, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if there's more allegations against this person as we go forward.
I couldn't agree with you more, Tanya. I think I feel as a victim, it's a whole lot more harder to stand up and speak out. It's the whole Me Too phase. No, it's not a phase. It's a stand. People are taking a stand, and I think it is coming out more lately and in these days because I think the victims are encouraged by other victims stepping out with their stories, and so they feel encouraged to step out with theirs. So I think it's a good thing, and I'm glad they are.
A way of liberating,
Right.
what you're holding inside. If you're a victim, you're holding that inside. That's, affecting your relationships. Maybe you're the way you perceive yourself, your self-esteem. So it's a way of liberating oneself.
Yeah, because I think in the past, victims have kept quiet, and because of that, a lot of their mental health went down the drain, and a couple of them committed suicide because of these secrets that they've been holding inside. So I do think it's a good thing and good for them. I'm proud of them for standing up. I'm proud of them for speaking out. I think the percentage of people that are just trying to get money out of these powerful, rich people are there's more of a risk to speak out than there is to keep quiet, and more dangerous for them to speak out. So quite frankly, the percentage of victims that are actually lying and taking advantage is very minimal. So I 100% believe every single one that stands up and speaks out. I'm just disappointed because it's Medea. Nevertheless, let's move on. Listeners, it is the quote of the day time. This is an important part of our podcast where Marie has mentioned her favorite quote, which we're going to talk about right now. It's straight from the Bible. Excuse me. It says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek his will in all you do, and he will show you which path to take. That's Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6. Marie, would you like to just share with us and the listeners what that means to you and why is that your favorite quote?
So there's a lot to unfold here in this verse, and there's so much wisdom and knowledge in these short lines. But like I said, the Bible is the living word of God, and that's my belief. So I live by this verse. I became a Christian when I was 15 years old, and I grew up Catholic. I grew up going to church and going to mass and doing my prayers and stuff like that. But I became to know the Lord personally when I was a teenager. So this verse spoke to me very early on in life, when things were good. Then things got, turned around and things were not so good. But I kept on trusting. I kept on going to this verse. If I put my trust in God, and I listen to what he has to say. I follow his will. I follow, what he wants to show me. If I need to make a decision, if I'm struggling in my relationships, if I'm, seeking wisdom in my business, what do I do? How do I go about this? I trust him. I trust what he has for me, that he has his best interests. His plans are better than mine. So everything will align. If there's a curve, I have to trust that this is his way of telling me, this is not the way, this is the way you need to go. So I rest knowing that he has my back. And it just goes back to that, trust him. He knows what's best for me.
Mm,
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
mm.
Yes.
I love that because, there's another saying where people say, man plans and God laughs. And I think in a way that's true. I mean, he didn't say it's a wrong thing for us to plan. And he said, go ahead, plan away. But, it ultimately, what his way goes. So I absolutely agree with you. And we should definitely trust that God has everything under control and everything does happen as what there's another part where it says he works everything out for your good. And
Yeah.
that's important to also remember and to always trust. So thank you very much, Marie, for that. But while we're on you, do you want to tell us a little bit about your background and who you are?
Sure. So I was born in Honduras, Tegucigalpa, Honduras. I came to the United States again when I was 15 because, things went bad for my parents back home. And for security reasons, we had to, come to the US, the land of opportunity. They wanted the best for us. It's five of us. My sister, the oldest, my brother, myself, and then two younger brothers. So it's five altogether. And my parents, came with the luggage, nothing in hand, no plan. Um, but like I said, God had a plan. We were religious people, we were Catholic. We came to know God here. He opened the doors for us little by little, going back to school, uh, just opening doors, when we put him first. I met my husband here. He's Cuban. And Tanya knows him. His name is Robert. It's a beautiful story that hopefully I get to share with you because there's quite a story there. But we've been together in each other's life for 30 years. We have two beautiful, amazing kids that love us, love family. They're strong. They're both in business. My son owns his own business, photography, videography, and they specialize in weddings. But they do a little bit of everything. And my granddaughter, she's going to be a year in August. And then just seeing, God's faithfulness in everything since the moment we left our country. It's been amazing. And even before that, the protection, the not this way, but this way. It's amazing. I'm in awe. But we are blessed. We are healthy, and then we're bringing this to others. The education, try to eat this instead of that. If you're feeling this way, add this to your daily diet. Work out, move. Um, you know, Read the Bible, read a book. Slow down in life. So those are the things that are, it's nice to share. I'm an educator. I teach elementary students in Broward County. This is my 25th year in education and my 20th year as a teacher, as a classroom teacher. So it's amazing. I love my life. I love where I am right now. I love talking to people about what we do, and bringing that awareness, to whoever I can.
I love
How
that.
did you begin your business with the juicing?
Yes. So that became sort of like a need. I was feeling sluggish. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I was in my early 40s or turning into the 40s. And we know that once we hit 40, things change drastically. So I started feeling those changes. Um, my clothes started getting a little tighter. I wasn't changing anything. I was eating the same things. But I noticed changes. So I said, let me try to do a detox. So I researched, I went online, I ordered some juices. And like I said, I did not like them at all. I had to throw them out. I did not consume a single juice. I tried and I just couldn't. Then I shopped locally with a lady. And again, there was one juice that I liked that I was able to drink. The rest I had to toss. And I said, this is pretty much the same thing that I've been doing for my kids. My kids were picky eaters when they were younger. So in a way to, introduce and have them eat fruits and vegetables, we had to disguise them whichever way possible. So juicing, smoothies, into the foods and stuff like that. And they would enjoy it. They would ask me, Mommy, give me that mango smoothie. Mommy, make me that spinach smoothie or that green one. They didn't know that there was spinach in there, but, you know. So I said, let me see what I can do with what I already know, to help me. So I did. I researched, I bought some books, I went online. And again, I did it with my family first. My family, my friends, the people at the gym where I used to work out before. They were my guinea pigs, but they loved it. And I got good feedback, my friends from college, from my coworkers. So I'm like, I think I have something here, something good, something that I can share with others, improve other people's life along the way. So that's how it started. So, we developed the juices. I tried them on. I lost like 10 pounds the very first time that I did the 3-day detox. Um, I felt amazing, the energy, the mental focus and clarity. So I said, yeah, it's time to offer this to the world, one client at a time. Yeah.
And how did you start offering that to the world? Like, where did you start putting your product out there?
Yes. So that's a little bit of the hardest part, because you have this item or these items, and if it were for me, I could sell it. I just give it to everybody, right? But we know there's rules and regulations and things that we have to follow. So at the time, I had the gym. I was actually working out and working at the gym for the summer. It was summer of 2019. We had a staff meeting at the gym and I took the juices. I spoke to the owner. This is what I do. I would like to, introduce the juices. And we did. They loved it. We had like uh, sort of like a health fair, where I was there and I was able to have a booth. We introduced the juices, um, and then we kicked off from there. And then till today, I still visit gyms when they ask me, bring your juices, bring your baked goods, your gluten-free things, and people love that, especially the people, that take care of their bodies, um, physically and mentally. They want that. It's a lifestyle.
Right.
Tune in next week for part 2 from Friends from Wild Places.
You've been listening to Friends from Wild Places with Shireen Bueta. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast from the links to catch every episode and unleash your passion.